Hello, everyone, and welcome to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Sam, and thank you so much for joining here and being a part of this session. Before diving into the topic, friends, here's a very important disclaimer that I would like to read it out, and that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including user comments and replies from users, is not a legal advice. So, use of information at your own risk. All right, friends, once again, welcome back everyone to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Sam. And let me tell you, friends, that today the session is really going to be exciting and very interesting because the guest we have here is joining us for the first time in Immigration Talk Show. Soon I'll be introducing her. And also, let me tell you that we are live on YouTube, available on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. So follow us on these many platforms and stay tuned and watch this webinar till the end because the topic is employment-based visas, myths versus reality. What's the truth? So of course, it's a very important topic and very interesting one. Lots of questions will be there, of course, I know. And lots of confusion are also there regarding the employment-based visas. What are the myths and what are the realities? But let me tell you, friends, the guest, the attorney who is going to join us for the very first time, it's an absolute honor to welcome a true leader in immigration law whose name is Nandini Nair. She is a partner at AY Strauss and leads their immigration practice with over 25 years of unmatched expertise. So let me tell you that what makes Nandini, truly exceptional is not just her deep legal knowledge, but also her personal connection to immigration. She understands the journey very well and also her legal knowledge, and the personal connection to the immigrants is truly exceptional. She has successfully guided top companies in tech, healthcare, and finance through complex US immigration challenges, also shaping careers and futures along the way. Her insights have been featured in the New York Times, CNN, Bloomberg, and more. And she has been recognized as a trailblazer in the legal field, and that's a great one. So, Nandini, first of all, welcome to Immigration Talk Show. We are really, really happy and honored to have a show with you. So, welcome to our channel, and once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here. It's wonderful. I'm so honored that we can get together and have this discussion today.
Wow, that's great. So, Nandini, as this is your first time to our channel, our viewers are really excited to know about your little background, like what inspired you to become an attorney. If you could please let us know about it.
I always wanted to be an attorney. From when I was a kid, 13 probably, I wanted to become a lawyer. My parents were not very thrilled about it. Indian parents. I'm an immigrant, and so we were one of those first immigrants who came to the United States. Those 60s and 70s. So it was very new. And for a woman to become a lawyer, it was not something that my father especially was happy about because he thought I wouldn't be able to get married and stuff because if I became a lawyer. But it's something I was really passionate about. It's one of my proudest accomplishments in my life besides my children. So for me, you know, um, immigration lawyer. Also, it just marries who I am as being an immigrant, looking for the law, looking for justice, being an advocate for people, understanding that journey. So it's all combines together for me.
Wow, that's great. That's really great. Okay, so I think now as we got your background and that too very interesting one, and of course you are very passionate about your working. So that's really inspiring, Nandini. And once again, welcome to Immigration Talk Show. And we all are so happy to have a show with you. So I think now let's directly jump into our today's topic, as the topic is very important for our viewers because lots of confusion and lots of different perspective, different thoughts everyone hears and everyone get involved in lots of confusion. So,
Mhm.
of course, you are an attorney and that too with 25 years of experience, a pretty long time. So,
Yeah.
according to you, if you could share some common myth that you have
Mhm.
encountered about the H-1B visa, because H-1B is highly
Mhm.
demanding and highly popular. So, let's begin with that.
All right. I mean, there's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of untruths. There is a lot of discrepancies. One of the things that makes me laugh sometimes is I'm on a lot of forums with other, H-1B people, right? And, you have Telegram, you have WhatsApp, all this. And sometimes when I see the flow of the things that are being said, I'm like, oh my God, where did this all come from? But some of the common things I think out there about the H-1B program is that it's like a cheap labor program. Like, companies are just hiring individuals to bring in cheap workers. And that's actually not true. Like, that's one of the biggest faults or one of the biggest myths out there. An H-1B worker actually has to be paid a certain base salary that's issued by the government, not by the employer, not by me, not by them, by the employer, by the government. And so they are not allowed to pay them minimum wage or any of those type of things. They're actually very high, higher paid salaries and stuff. So
Mhm.
there is this unfortunate thing out there that, when they see somebody who is foreign, that they automatically assume that's some sort of cheap labor coming in. So that's one of the biggest myths I have seen, just in the environment, not necessarily with the people who are on these visas, but just the environment that, hey, they're coming in, they're doing this type of cheap work, and that's what the only reason that employers are sponsoring them. The second thing I really find very interesting that people don't understand is it is very expensive to file an H-1B. So it costs money. It's not like you're paying $10 to file something for someone. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. An H-1B, depending on certain things, can cost anywhere between 7,000 to 8,000 to hire this person. So why? Why would a
Mhm.
company want to expend that kind of money if this is cheap labor? Wouldn't that mean that is an exceptional person? That is talent, Yes, they're foreign talent, but they are still talent. So why would we not bring those kind of people in?
Wow. That's lovely. And that too, in the beginning of the show, Nandini, you have put a lot of things, and that too really eye-opening. Because, when people are outside the US, they are not understanding that how the H-1B workers are really being represented as. They are just seeing the luxurious life, they are just fascinated with the life that they are having over there. But I think, of course, the attorney are the one, those who can show the real mirror to everyone.
Okay.
So I think that's a really great one. And of course, cheap labor, it's really sad. It's really, I would say, a very discriminating kind of
Mhm.
thing. But that's okay. And let's move ahead with my next
Mhm.
question
Mhm.
also. That Nandini, many people say that the H-1B visa takes job away from
Mm.
Americans.
Mm.
So do you think it's the reality or is it just a
That's
myth?
absolute myth. That's 100% myth. I mean, there are so many studies out there that show that the H-1B program and various work permit programs, whether it's the L1, the TNs, O1s, they don't, take away jobs. They actually complement the American workforce. A lot of these work permit jobs are for professional positions. They're not for restaurant workers or receptionists or people of that kind. They are actually high level, high professional, highly educated individuals who are coming here to work. And the reason, they're here is because we're not able to fill these positions. A lot of these positions are in STEM, right? Or in healthcare or in finance. Again, once going back to that, why would an employer want to spend $8,000 to $9,000 to file somebody for an H-1B if there was an available US worker? So that is one of the biggest myths that just keeps getting circulated over and over again, that these foreigners are coming here to take away our jobs. No, they actually complement that workforce. They add to the workforce. They also, you know what? They bring a different perspective. They bring innovation. They bring, diversity. I know that's a bad word these days and stuff like that, but actually they are add so much to the US economy, to the US environment, and to the US culture. So that is an absolute myth that they're taking away US workers. And there's actually studies. It's not even my word. And if you Google that and you
Mhm.
actually do some research, you'll actually see that in that there is actual data out there. So it's such a myth and a falsity
Yeah.
in regard to that.
That's very well said. And also, when some employer is hiring the H-1B worker, the first criteria is to look for the American employees, right? They can't just directly go with the
Well,
H-1B.
they can.
So if they
They
are
can.
not
No, that's actually
getting,
not true.
yeah,
That's the green card process where you have to do what's called the labor market testing and stuff. With an H-1B, you can file, but there is a tremendous amount of compliance requirements. There is oversight.
yeah,
There's a spotlight on this program, right? So why would, again, a employer want to go and do all of this unless that person was exceptional, unless that person, was somebody that they needed? They weren't able to find that in the US market, right? That's the part that I never understand when people make these claims and these go spouting about all of that. It's actually so untrue. I don't think any employer is sitting there like, let me spend $8,000 to hire this person with, because I just have
that's
this kind of disposable cash to play around with. Sure. Okay. Absolutely.
that's right, that's right. But also, Nandini, of course, the way you answer, that's pretty well understandable. But still, what do you think? Like, why the people, those who are in US
Yeah.
right now, they're developing this feeling that their jobs are being snatched away, though they also know that, of course, the H-1B workers are contributing to the US economy,
Mhm.
right? I mean, they are increasing the everything industries and they're contributing in a very good
Right.
way. But still, I mean, what is the root cause? Like, why they have developed this notion
Right.
about the H-1B workers?
You know, I mean, I think there's a lot of fear, that certain jobs are being taken away by foreigners in their eyes, and they're not being able to be competitive on those levels. Because to be, truthful, if you look at the STEM field, for example, you know, Indians, Chinese, Asians generally dominate in that, right? It just, for whatever reason, it's not that I don't know that we're smarter or not smarter, or whatever the reasons is, we just seem to dominate in those fields. And I think, generally local Americans might feel a little bit of threat from that. But again, the environment has definitely shifted, in the past 20 years, or I want to say the past 10 for sure. I grew up in this country. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was young. And so I grew up. And in the beginning, when I came, yeah, there was a lot of difficulties and there was a lot of backlash, that I grew up with, bullying and all of those things because I was somebody different. But by the time I got into, my 20s and 30s, I had felt that there was an acceptance and assimilation and um a feeling of belonging, but then it seems like it's being reversed again. And it's now this rhetoric against the H-1B program that's being highlighted here with this administration. I think it's just adding to the unfortunate, myths and lies that are just keeps circulating here. And so it's not good for anyone, at this point. But again, why do I think that is? I think it's the rhetoric that's coming from this administration. I think it's fears of layoffs, and sometimes there's just a blame game out there, Sam. Like, it's just, people have to blame somebody else instead of looking at themselves, you know?
Yeah. That's right. And I think as you have met through these challenges, and of course, the life in US have been, of course, very struggling, and that is why you decided to become an
Mhm.
attorney and will help more and more immigrants so that at least they don't face these bullies and the challenges that you have went through.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
So,
I'm an
okay, that's
immigrant.
great.
Like, I grew up very, I tell everyone, I didn't grow up like this. Like, I grew up poor, like lower middle class. My parents worked double shifts, we didn't have money, any of those type of things. It's not like I grew up in some luxurious life. And so what I faced
Hmm.
in whatever in my life, and when I became an immigration attorney, it wasn't like the person I see always is my father. What would my father feel like going in front of an attorney and not being able to understand something? How do like, how do I help my dad? Right. And that kind of sticks with me
Wow.
all the time when I'm talking to clients, when they're panicked and when their children are aging out, or they have to travel to the consulate, and what will they come back? They have a house, they have kids, all these types of things. I look at it from my father's perspective, and how wouldn't I want someone to help him? And that's kind of how I come across out with my clients.
Wow. That's so sweet and that's so inspiring, I would say. Again, and now, as the struggles and the challenges that you have met, and now see where you are. Great achievement.
Yeah.
All right. So I would say that's really great, Nandini, and that too very inspiring. I think this session is not only about the topic, but of course, a little motivational speaker. You can be a great motivational speaker too. Okay, okay, that's great. All right, so let me move ahead with my next
Mhm.
question. And this is another, I don't know whether it's a myth or a reality, but can small businesses and startups not sponsor the H-1B visas? What do you have to
No,
say on
any
that?
employer can sponsor an H-1B. The employee count, the financial viability of the company does have a play in getting it approved, maybe, but they can definitely
Mhm.
file. So, and a small employer just needs to be aware of certain things that needs to be in place prior to filing. Maybe you don't start, if you have your business starting out of the basement of your home, that may not be helpful for showing that you can actually sustain the H-1B salary for this individual. Maybe if you incorporated a month ago and you're like, hey, I want to file somebody for an H-1B today, that's not going to be necessarily um, give you the potential for an approval. It doesn't mean you can't legally. Of course, you can. If you're a valid employer with a valid federal ID number, other various corporate things in place, of course, you can sponsor an H-1B. Now, when you do that, you want to make sure you get an approval. So that's where sometimes people have this thing like, oh, I'm a small employer, I can't sponsor for an H-1B.
Mhm.
No, that's not true. You can, but do you have A, B, C, and D in place to ensure that you get that case approved? That's what you need to think about
Right.
first.
That's right. That's right. And also, Nandini, talking about the popular topic, the H-1B lottery, right, as a very demanding one. I would like to know it from you that most of the people say that the H-1B lottery is truly random. So, do you think that it's actually very truly random or an unfair advantage to it? What's your call on that? It's a myth or a reality?
I feel like I believe, and I truly believe this, and I have to believe this as a lawyer and believing in um,
Mhm.
the law, that it is actually random. I do believe it's a computer selection, pulling the numbers. Why does it feel like it's the big companies that dominate? Right, that's the whole thing. Why is it the TCSs, the Wipros, the Cognizants, and all of them? And even if you look at Facebook's numbers and stuff, right? It's because the
Mhm.
volume of how much they file. It's not because they filed and they just get to, and they're in some hierarchy or some ranking or something like that. It's based on the volume. So if you just do math, that's all you need to do. If they filed 500 registrations and you filed two, you can pretty much bet that they're going to get a certain good percentage out of there. And the numbers that get posted out there, oh my God, they're just dominating. They're just dominating. Well, they're filing that many cases and stuff like that. That's why it seems like they're just, uh, overtaking this selection process. But truthfully and honestly, it is a random selection. There is no bias. There is no, edge to these kind of companies or anything like that. It's simply a volume game. That's all it is. And it's unfortunate that they filed that many for whatever reasons that they do file, but that's really the truth of it. It's hard to hear for some people who get locked out of the lottery because of these companies and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's honestly the truth of it.
All right. And I think earlier there has to be, I mean, there used to be that multiple registration, and
Oh,
also
yeah.
the registration fee has to be like $10. So due to those also, it was a little misusing the system, but now
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's a bit
Yeah.
transparent one.
Yes, of course. And I will tell you, that many of the abuses of that program didn't come necessarily from these big players. They don't have to, and stuff. They came from other companies that, generally conspired a little bit with each other. They may have five different companies, so they filed, for the same person from five different, their
Mhm.
five companies, but they're all jointly, owned or etc. So, and also the $10, right? That was a biggest mistake sometimes I think by CIS, that they made that registration fee so low because anybody and everybody then filed and stuff. And then there were people took
Mhm.
positions away, they got selected by five different companies. I remember a few years ago when it first started, one guy on Facebook posted that he filed with 20 different companies, and he got selected by like
Oh,
10 and stuff. And he's boasting about it and posting about it.
wow.
And I was just like looking at it
Mhm.
like, oh my God,
Yeah.
why are you saying all of these things? Right. So again,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
all of that contributes to the feeling that it's rigged somehow. And it truly actually is not.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Also, Nandini, do you think that the H-1B lottery is, I would say, the correct thing, because correct way to happen, because it depends completely upon your luck. As you said, I mean, the reality is it happens randomly. So do you think the process is fine enough to say that it's okay to have your luck test as compared to your skills? It doesn't have to do anything with the skill thing, or what ability or what qualifications you have. It's all about a random thing. So do you think it's fine enough from your point of view, just a random, I would just want to know your
Yeah. Uh,
uh, idea about it.
yeah.
What do you think about it?
I First of all, I'm against this lottery business and having a cap on the H-1B. Like that's my personal opinion. I believe that open that whole thing up. Like it when let a company file, you're creating an unnecessary abuse of a system that doesn't need to be there. I've been practicing God since 1999, 2000. Okay, when the cap was very much bigger, larger, right? It was like 165 at that time, and I used to file H cases all throughout the year and stuff like that. And it wasn't this craziness and this push and stuff like that at that time. And again, this is a long time ago. This was the first wave of Indians, coming into the U.S. and stuff. But in my personal opinion, I do not believe we need a cap.
Mhm.
I believe that open up the program, don't
Okay.
make this quota situation in there. You will eliminate so much of the abuse, so much of the fraud. You want to up the fees a little bit more? Go ahead, up the fees a little bit more. People will pay for that and stuff. Do I want it to go into some sort of merit based system? Maybe we can create some sort of balance between that, whether it's at making it fully masters, or I don't know, like I haven't thought that through. My number one thing is get rid of the cap. We don't,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous. We don't, you're just adding to the nonsense and to the fraud and the chaos. If we pull that away, I think the system would work much more fairer.
Wow, that's great. That's a great way to say, and also a very good point of view, also, Nandini. So, thank you so much for letting us know about it. And that too, I think I completely agree with it also. And also, till now, we have been talking mostly about the
Mhm.
H-1B. So, now let's also shift our focus to another employment-based visa categories as well, and that too, the EB-1.
Mhm.
So, my question to you is that, Nandini, is it true that once somebody is on employment-based visa like the
Mhm.
EB-1, so their future in the US is secure?
Nothing is ever secure. You're seeing this in real time in the United States right now. We were just talking about that I'm a US citizen. I'm a naturalized US citizen, right? So,
Yeah.
I can be, there's a little bit of tension within myself. Like when I'm traveling now, like, are they going to pull me into secondary? Is there something that's going to happen to me because I'm a naturalized US citizen? Are they going to look into my file? So you're never
Mhm.
safe. It seems like we're in a time where everybody is on the radar. So I don't believe that. But let's talk about the EB1. So EB1 is a green card process. It's not a work permit. Okay, so the H1B, O1, TNs, L1s, those are work permits. That allows you to come into the United States and work for that employer or sponsor. Now, the EB1
Mhm.
or EB employment based green card cases, let's say the EB1, right? For example, which is the highest preference category. Remember, there's EB1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Most people in this show would be really in EB1, 2, or 3. So EB1 does not
Yeah.
give you status. It does not give you work authorization until you're down to the final step. So when you file that EB1 application, which is generally the I-140, it is just a pre-step to show that you qualify for that preference category. So filing the I-140 gives you no status, does not give you work authorization, does not do anything. It's just literally the first step you have to take. What gives you status? What gives you work authorization? It's filing the 485. And that is the same for EB1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It does not, all the other stuff does not keep you secure in this country. You could file an EB1 I-140 and tomorrow get laid off, get fired, get deported. Any of those things can happen. If you file a 485, there is some sort of security because you have filed for to stay in the country. Okay, and it actually
Yeah.
gives you some sort of status to be in the United States. So, but honestly, your 485 can get denied. It can get revoked. There's a lot of different things that can happen. So you're never 100% secure. I literally tell everyone, even when you get your green card, be careful. Be careful how you live your life. Be very careful about how you got that green card and make sure it's consistent with how you filed, you know, and, get to the citizenship as soon as possible if you can, you know. That's your best protection here. It used to be, but that's really your best protection, not the green card. It's really getting to the citizenship, as we're seeing that they're deporting green card holders at this point. So the EB1
That's
doesn't
right.
give
That's right.
you, like I said, doesn't make you safe or secure. It's just a step towards that journey.
All right, all right. And as you already talked about green card, so I think let me go ahead with my next question. And this is a very interesting one, Nandini, that most of the people think that now if they have filed for the green card application, then that means that they are free from any deportation or they can't, be deported from the
Mhm.
US. So is it true that once the file for the green card is applied, does that mean that you're completely safe from deportation?
No.
What's your take
No,
on this?
absolutely not. You're seeing in the news today, like you can see since January 20th, 2025, that ICE has come along and picked up green card holders and have deported them or are working to deport them. Why are they deporting them? Because they were in a pro-Palestinian rally or they wrote an article or things like that. You know who else they're
Mhm.
deporting? Parents of who have green cards who are using the green card as a commuter status. What that means is they got the green card through their kids or whatever ways they got it, but they don't live in the United States permanently. They really actually live in India, and they're coming back and forth every few months or every 6 months or every whatever 8 months, whatever. And I know personally of two cases where they actually took the green card away because they're older. They don't know that they didn't have to surrender their green card, but they, didn't let them come in CBP. They made them go back to India because they looked at their travel history and they say, hey, this, grandfather and grandmother really don't live here. They've only come here for a month. Then they go back for 6 months. Then they come back for another 2 weeks, things like that. So green card holders, are still subject to deportation. And any status prior to that, you're still subject to deportation. So never think that that is your safety net. It's not at this point. You still got to be very mindful and careful of maintaining the rules and regulations of this country. It can come back to bite you at this point, as we're seeing.
Wow, that's wonderfully explained, Nandini. And that too, it's very interesting to talk to you. I'm really enjoying the conversation. And it's really great to have this conversation with you. And that too about, the myths and the realities. I'm sure our viewers are really getting to know what the realities are until now, what confusions they have been going through.
Mhm.
So once again, I would say thank you so much, Nandini, for this. And friends, the great thing is that you can also have the contact detail of our attorney, Nandini Nair, and the contact details will be visible on the screen. You can go ahead and give her a call on the number that is 973-287-0966. And the email ID is jkaran@aystrauss.com. Let me spell it out. That is JCU RRAN @AYSTRAUSS. The website is www.aystrauss.com. So friends, go ahead and reach out to Nandini, and I'm sure she is going to help you out in whatsoever case you are there, and she is going to navigate the complexities or the issues that you're facing right now in your immigration journey. And Nandini, I think this was the first part of our session, and now it's time to have a short break because till after the break we are going to have we are going to take the comments from the viewers. So thank you so much everyone for being here and joining us. Don't go anywhere. It's a great discussion. I'm Sam, having a great discussion with the attorney Nandini Nair on the topic employment-based visas, myths versus reality. What's the truth? So stay tuned and keep watching Immigration Talk Show. I'll be right back, so stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome back to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Sam, and till now, we are having a great discussion with attorney Nandini Nair. And the topic that we are having a great discussion on is employment-based visas, myths versus reality, what's the truth? So, till now, we have covered H-1B visa, also EB-1, EB-5, and more myths and realities we have discovered. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions till now. And of course, this time we are going to we are going to take up your questions. So make sure to participate in this session more and more, and also put up more and more questions so that, we can utilize this session and can have a wonderful one. So now, Nandini, I think let's take up some of our viewers' question.
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so let me see which question can I take firstly. Okay, I can see a lot of viewer. Okay, let me take a Rajendra one question firstly. So Rajendra is here, and hi Rajendra, thank you so much for joining. He's asking, what role do wage determinations and prevailing wage requirements play in the employment-based visa process, particularly in the context of H-1B and perm applications? Okay, let's
Okay.
answer this part first. Yeah.
Okay. So this goes back to that initial question where we are talking about the cheap labor, right? When I was talking to you about, you know, I can't just, as an employer, arbitrarily pick a salary to pay the individual. There is a minimum threshold that is issued by the government, actually the Department of Labor. So the prevailing wage does play an important role in the H-1B process. Like I said, you can't just pick a wage. You have to look at the occupation, you have to look at the location the person is going to be working, and then you have to look at what the government says is the minimum that you have to pay this individual. And again, this is based on the government survey, looking at that in that area and determining, hey, you have to pay 60,000, you have to pay 70,000, you have to pay 80,000. We're not looking at 25, 30, or $40,000 positions here. We're looking at those type of salaries out there. So it does play a critical role in the H-1B process. You must pay the prevailing wage or the higher of what's called the actual wage. What does that mean? That means the wage that the company generally pays for that type of position with the same and
Mhm.
similar skills. Now, what does that mean for the green card process? Well, for the green card process, it's the same theory. You can't just sponsor somebody for a green card and say, I'm only going to pay them $25,000 when they get their green card. No, the government says, we're going to allow you to do this process. You're going to pay this individual a decent salary or a high salary. And so we're going to tell you what you have to pay this individual by filing an application called the prevailing wage determination, and that will be the salary you have to pay. And believe me, that salary is never going a low salary. It's always a higher salary because, again, to avoid that myth that this is cheap labor, it's actually not. It's that these individuals, when they get their green card, are actually getting paid a pretty high salary. So the prevailing wage does have an important element for the H-1B and for the green card process.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. Okay, and here's the next part of Rajendra question. And he's asking that how can employers ensure compliance with these requirements to avoid potential penalties or visa denials?
Well, they need a good lawyer like me. That's what they need to tell them what to do.
Wow.
Honestly, yeah, they need to have understanding. They have to have information. They have to have intelligence on this matter. They can't. One of my biggest things with certain companies, is the lack of understanding and the lack of knowledge and the lack of requirements that has to be done. It's not, oh, I pick and choose kind of situation here. It's not. An employer, if they're going to get into the H-1B game, and this is what I always tell like new startups, listen, if you're a US company and you're not haven't sponsored anybody for an H-1B or a anything, think first. Is this what you want to do? Because you are about to let the US government come into your business. How is that? How am I doing that? They will say, well, when you sponsor somebody, there's compliance requirements. There's things you have to do, things you have to maintain, record keeping, etc. If you don't want the US government in your business, then don't file for somebody. So what does an employer have to do? they really need to understand, they really need to go and speak to someone, they need to make sure that their systems and processes are in place so they're being compliant with the rules and regulations. There's a lot of them. It's not simple. There's a lot of nuances, rules, sometimes impractical things that you have to do, but the government doesn't care. So
Mhm.
to anyone who's out there as an employer representative, or just, what my number one thing is, make sure you understand first what you're getting yourself into and how you can actually do it within your company. A lawyer should be able to, walk you through those kind of things and strategies. Hey, this is what I've done in the past with other employers. Can you follow this? This is going to be the easy way for you to do stuff. So guidance is really what's important here for an employer.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And I love the confidence, Nandini, that you said to have a lawyer like me. Wow, that's really a great statement. And Rajendra, as we have already shared the contact details of Nandini, and at the end of the show also we are going to share. So please go ahead and you can directly, give her a call or uh, share the email ID, or you can also check out her website. That will be great. Okay, now Nandini, I have this very interesting comment from Dan Nandan, and he's our president. And that's what he said, that I agree with Nandini. The abuse stems from the lottery system. Keep the program open, but enforce strict criminal penalties. That
Mhm.
alone will clean up much of the system.
100% agree. Look, yeah, I can't agree more with Nandan. Maybe, like I said, stop the cap, stop the lottery. So because some employers use it as a bargaining chip, also, from what I've seen out there. They're like, I'll sponsor you for an H-1B this year, and the guy's desperate, right? Or the girl is desperate. Like, there's just
Yeah.
so many things that happen, and people get, especially the poor students. Like that, my heart always breaks for students because generally they have done so much, things to come to the US, right? They've taken
Yeah.
loans, their parents have taken loans, they've begged, borrowed, and whatever to come here to get an education because what to improve their life, give themselves opportunities. And then they'll have sometimes these employers who are taking advantage of that. So my heart breaks for always the students who don't get selected and are just in this cycle. So if you can take that away, I think you will clean up the process, make some additional requirements. If you don't want to just keep it at a bachelor's, move it up, add some experience to it, or you make it, bachelor's, do it like the green card, bachelor's in 5, and or a master's degree. Do something else if you really want to only bring the best and the brightest to the US. But yeah, absolutely cut that out is what I would say.
Absolutely, that's great. And the next comment also that Dan has put is raise the bar, only accept top foreign grades with 90% plus scores and 5+ years experience. That alone will push employers to bring real talent. That's what you have also said.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Well,
great one.
90%. That's high, Dan. I don't know. I don't think I did that great in schools. Okay, let's keep it at 80% maybe, or something like
Okay.
that. But no, I think again, it's a fair point, right? What he's saying is raise the bar, increase the criteria if you truly are concerned about the fraud, about too many people coming in and stuff like that. There are many ways actually change this system to be more effective and get what we actually want, which is the best and the brightest. There are ways. It's just people don't want to unfortunately do those things, and the people I'm talking about is Congress generally. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I agree with him.
All right. Okay, that's great. Okay, so here is another viewer. I can see Abbas is also here, and he joined us from LinkedIn. So Abbas is saying that please advise also, can I apply from Pakistan?
You can apply from anywhere. There's no block on any countries except certain countries that are designated terrorist countries and stuff like that. Though it's not even that you can't apply. You're going to have a problem getting through the consulate trying to come into the United States and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely, Pakistan can file. Anybody can file. So
Yeah,
not a
that's right.
problem at all.
Okay, that's great. And we do have other viewer also, so Control, if you could please let us know about the other comment as well. Okay, so Imran is here, and Imran is saying that some applicants believe that showing a large amount of money in their bank increase the chances of approval. All right. So what do you have to say on this, Nandini?
Well, approval for what? I'm assuming he means for the B1 or B2 visa. I'm going to read in between the lines because whatever salaries, whatever money you have is not relevant for an H1B because you're getting sponsored by an employer. So
Yeah.
that's irrelevant. So where does that actually have a play here? There's two for the student visa, because remember an F1 has to show that they're able to support themselves while they're, in the United States during their studies by, they have to show that they have money to fund their education, fund their expenses. So yeah, if you have a good amount of money in the bank account, that's going to be helpful for you to secure the F1 visa at the consulate. What's the second one? It's the B2 tourist visa generally, right? Again, that's a self petition, just like the F1, where if you have a certain amount of money, it's helpful. It's not the not only thing, but it's helpful to show to the consulate that there's no reason for you to be in the US, right? You're not going to overstay. You have plenty of money. You have a good life in India or in Pakistan or in China or in Europe. You have no reason to, be an overstay in the US. So that is helpful for that purpose. But again, is that the end all? No, absolutely not. It's a cumulative thing. I always tell everyone, like, there's not one thing that overshadows another thing. You have to have all the parts of that puzzle together to have the best chance at approval. So if you're applying for a tourist visa, okay, you got a lot of money in the bank, but you're unemployed, you're doing nothing with your life, kind of thing. Let's say, for example, right? That's not going to be good. They're going to think, so what? He has money. He can come to the US and just hang around over here and stuff like that. We don't want someone like that, So everything has to come together. All the pieces have to fit together in one place when you apply for these type of things.
Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome back to Immigration Talk Show. Apologies from my side as my internet just got little disturbed, but not so worry. I think Nandini was having a great answer to the comments, and I think Nandini, I hope you completed your answer, or did I interrupted you in between? I'm so sorry for
No,
that
no, no,
problem.
you were fine. I think I kept talking, so it's perfectly okay.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, so I think let me take up Richard's comment quickly. And Richard is here, and Richard is saying that immigration increase crime rates. Immigrants increase crime rates. What does research show about the link between immigration and crime rates in the US? And how do studies control for confounding variables? Okay, that's a different one.
Hi, Richard. I hope you're definitely watching this. With anyway, do they increase crime rates? That there needs. I would love to see that study where you're seeing that. But let's break down a couple of things. One is immigrants are not shouldn't be lumped into just one category. They're not. There's different categories here. There are undocumented individuals where, yes, is there a crime issue in some of those populations? Absolutely, right? There's a second category of immigrants, which are the employment based individuals who come here legally, who are on valid work permits, who are generally extremely law abiding individuals. I am talking to the point of that in my 25 years of practicing, I can count on one hand in 25 years of individuals who have may had issues in the past with, some sort of whether it's drunk driving or domestic violence or something of that at those levels. Never seen anything beyond those type of issues. But again, on one hand. So I think when people like lump everyone together into one bucket, it creates this narrative that all immigrants increase the crime rates or are bad seeds or their potential for problems or etc. And that's actually a very unfair thing. We're all different people, right? Should we all be lumped together into one bucket? That's not fair. So when we talk about how immigrants bring economic value, innovation, different perspectives, all of that to the US culture and the US economy, most of those studies are focused on the individuals who actually come here legally. And so that is why you will see that population adding such value to the US economy and to the country in general. We're not looking, that study is not looking at the undocumented who are coming through other methods, without actual proper documentation. So I think we have to separate those things out, Richard.
Okay. All right, so Richard, thank you for your comment, and Nandini too for explaining this and taking up this comment very patiently and wonderfully. So, okay, I think Nandini, we have covered all our viewers' comments, and now we do have Facebook questions as well because our viewers are also there who is watching us. So,
Mhm.
if you allow, then can we take up Facebook questions as well?
Sure, of course.
All right, that's great. Okay, so here's a question from anonymous member, and the
Mhm.
question is that this is my fifth attempt at an H-1B, but still no luck. I'm feeling extremely low. I applied for an EAD in February 2025, and by May, it will mark 3 years since my 11-year career in IT was put on hold.
Hmm.
What do you have to say, Nandini, on this?
I feel extremely sad too for
Yeah,
him.
it
I,
is.
I understand that journey. I understand, um, you know, the the helplessness, that they must go through this random thing that, there's nothing they can do to
Yeah.
improve their chances, right? It's so random, and they've invested so much to come here. They've invested so much to
That's right.
study, and not to be able to fulfill that dream and goal of getting a full-time job, being able to pay back whatever they did, give money back to their families, doing whatever to be self-supporting.
Mhm.
I truly understand that. Is there options? Very limited, unfortunately, when you're from India. Like, if you were Canadian or Mexican, obviously I'd say go, do the TN route. Maybe there's an O1 option out there, but that's again a very difficult threshold to meet. But I don't have great options for you, and that is the worst part of this H-1B program. This is why I so much would love for that cap to end, because he must be, a highly educated professional individual,
Yeah,
and this is the situation he's under.
that's right. That's right. And it's really hard and it's really sad, Nandini, but this is only the first comment, that we are getting. There are millions of comments or millions of thoughts that people have been going through these situations. But
Hmm.
friends, at least by letting us know, at least by commenting and by asking up the questions, at least not everything, but something, at least you'll get the answer, you'll get the solution, and that will definitely help you out. So that is
Hmm.
why it's very important to put up these questions and get in touch with the attorney so that she can personally help you out. And of course, for sure, Nandini is a very confident attorney, as we are getting to know right now. And the great thing is that she also motivates everyone in a very great way. So of course, you'll feel that support and you'll feel that moral support from her side. Okay, so let me take the next viewer's comment. And
Yeah.
the comment is, hi friends, need expert suggestion here. I lost my job and my last paycheck was 1st Feb to 15th Feb, and the payroll date was 28th Feb. So as per H1B, there is 60-day grace period. So my question is, when would my 60-day grace period ends? Will it end on April 15th or on April 30th? Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, this is a big question that a lot of people don't understand the nuance of. So let me walk this individual through this. First of all, the 60-day grace period clock starts the day after the last day you worked. It is not related to your paycheck. The law, that is how the law is written. Okay. So if your last day was, you were physically wherever you were working, February 1st, that clock starts right after that, the 60 days. So it's not the February 15th. It's not the payroll date. It's from that last day you work. Now,
yeah,
people will say, but I heard it's about the paycheck. No, it's not about the paycheck. Yes, the evidence that the government will look at when you apply for a change of status or you apply for a transfer, based on the 60-day grace period or whatever you're doing, they'll want to see the pay stubs, and they may not pay attention to the fact that, hey, really, your last day was February 1st. They're looking at maybe that pay period or maybe the payroll date. But here's the
mhm,
problem where you get caught. That
yeah,
employer generally will, and they should, if they have good counsel, will file a withdrawal of your H-1B. Once they lay you off, they will be recommended by lawyers to file the H-1B withdrawal. And on that H-1B withdrawal, they're going to note that your last day working was February 1st. And that's how the link will come back up. So you may get that H-1B transfer approved today because that officer is not paying attention. They're just looking at that paychecks and stuff. But could a year from now, when they finally put two and two together, realize, hey, actually, you were not in your 60-day grace period. You were actually beyond that 60-day grace period. And
yeah,
we gave you an I-94 incorrectly. And then they send you an intent to revoke on
mhm,
that petition. So
yeah,
be mindful. The questions are like, well, how will CIS know? Here's the link of how they figure it out eventually. They may not figure it out when you get that first approval, but eventually they may. And where then tomorrow does it hit you? When you file that 485. When you have to give your employment history and dates of employment, it will then, they will pull your H cases, they will look at the history, they will look at your 485 application, they'll look at any other correspondence that's in the file for you, right, or that employer that you used to work at, and they will do a charting to see,
yeah.
hey, what was going on here with this guy. So be mindful. Don't think you can, run around the system and get away with it. It eventually, somewhere, somehow will catch up.
That's right. Of course, that's true. And there's no way to get away from the system. That too, this year, it's really strict, and you can't sneak away from the system
And
right
everything
now.
is linked now. Everything, I will tell you, when I started practicing decades ago, nothing. It was all paper based. There was no these
Yeah.
electronic systems. Nothing was linked like that and stuff. It was very different. A lot of different things got through without issue. Now everything is electronic, digital, portals,
Yeah.
like all of this. It's easier to pull all of this stuff together.
Hmm. That's right. Of course, and day by day, we are also hearing so many news, how the policies are becoming stricter, that too with the use of technologies.
Yes.
So I think it's really hard to try to hide yourself and, try to fool the system. There's no
Hmm.
way out. I mean, anyone who is trying to fool the system, I mean, they are definitely going to get caught. So that's no way
Yeah,
out for that.
it may not be today. It really may not be today. It may be 5 years from now. I want you to be very mindful that the individual in New York, Khalil, I forgot his last name, who got picked up for, pro-Palestinian. Um, he's a green card holder, and you know what they're pulling now? His 485 application because of how he got, and they're seeing that there's discrepancies in his 485 application, and they're going to use that to deport him.
Oh God. Hmm.
Okay. So it's not like this won't come back to haunt you. It will come back to haunt you after you've put a life together in this country, after your kids are being raised here, after you have a home and two cars and things like that. That's when it could come back and bite you. So be mindful of whatever you're putting on that paper. You are submitting documentation to the US government. You are not submitting this to me. You are not submitting this to Sam. You submitting this to the US government. And they can use it against you if you make any mistakes.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so I think Nandini, it's almost an hour, and in fact, we have crossed 1 hour, 5 minutes without even realizing it. So I still have so many questions, but I think it's almost time. So I don't want to stretch this out. But again, I would love to have another session, another very lively session, this great conversation to continue with you. And first of all, I would say thank you so much for being here. It was really a pleasure having you. And now I would like to know from your end also, how was your experience? How did you feel? How was the interaction with our audience? Please let us know about it.
No, I thank you so much. It was really honestly a pleasure being here. I love making, one of my biggest things is I want to make sure everybody understands the immigration journey correctly. And I am more than happy to provide this type of information and advice and make sure that, people are not stuck out there. That's the purpose of being a lawyer, right? That's the purpose of advocacy. So thank you so much for having me. I really had a wonderful time.
Same here, same here. And soon, I think, friends, there's no need to be sad because, of course, soon we are definitely going to have another very great session with attorney Nandini Nair. And the great thing is that you can also contact her on the given contact details. Give her a call on the number 973-287-0966 with the email ID jkaran@aystrauss.com. And the website is www.aystrauss.com. So thank you so much, Nandini, and have a great day, have a great time. And once again, we are definitely going to look forward to another show. Till then, thank you so much for being here. It was lovely having you.
Thank you.
All right. So, friends, everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this session as this was really informative and very interesting too, with a very interesting topic. In case if you still have any question or you didn't get the chance to upload in the comment section, don't worry. After the live stream ends, you can still put up those questions, and in the next webinar, we are definitely going to take up those questions for you. So stay tuned, keep watching Immigration Talk Show. It was lovely having you and having this great conversation with attorney Nandini Nair. So keep watching the session. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Our handle is @Immigration Talk Show. Till then, I'm Sam signing off for now.